Okay, it's been a while since I've done a video, so I'm going to be a little bit rusty, so bear with me. But I thought I'll throw a quick one on before we start this morning. This is the Dow Jones, and I just wanted to have a little bit of a look at this bounce point and mainly illustrate, in hindsight, it was a fairly technically valid point to bounce off. I've thrown a few indicators, very basic indicators, on here for a start. This bottom line's obviously just a trend line. It's bounced really nicely off this trend line, or trying to bounce off this trend line. I've thrown some pitchforks on for those that follow the pitchforks. Again, it's right through that middle line of the pitchfork. This one here is probably the I'll get rid of that pitchfork for a moment. This resistance line here is probably the line that I think we need to break to at least suggest that we have broken this downtrend and we are possibly in the next upward leg. Certainly hasn't broken it yet, even drawing it conservatively and leaving this little false break out. So this little double high here, double top here, was at around almost at 12,200, about 12,180. I think we certainly need to get through there first. And if we can get up through 12,200, at least should suggest we're getting close to breaking that line. Of course, if I can click on this and hopefully pick this point up, maybe I should just draw another one. I'll just illustrate it with the mouse. If we drew a line through those highs there, we get a much higher point where we'd probably have to break before you'd suggest that that trend is broken, which is probably looking a little bit more like the 12,300, something like that. So I don't think the Dow's out of the woods at all just yet. The other thing I'm going to whack on it is the fibs, and I thought this was quite interesting as well. If you run it from this low here up to the top, it's pretty much exactly at the 50%. So some fairly relevant points there for this to be a technical area of bounce. And just out of interest, you can see, if you even look back at previous areas, that the bottom before that was at 50% of this range, and probably the 62 picks up the one before that. So it's fairly significant technically where we're bouncing off. It's where it goes from here that's going to be the key. So although it's encouraging, I don't think we're out of the woods yet with the Dow. As I mentioned on my post on Convol this morning, I'll probably lock in some profits early in case this does tend to be a bit of a fake bounce, but hopefully we've seen a bottom. I could have a quick look at the XJO as well, I suppose. I'm sure similar things. We've obviously dipped comparative to our last low a little further, but again we need to break. Oops, sorry, I told you I'd be a bit rusty. We need to break this trend line here to really suggest for now that we're back into an uptrend, and there's certainly a fair bit of work to go before we break that line there. But at least it looks like we've bounced off the bottom of that trend. So at the moment, you just suggest we're really trading in this channel, this downward sloping channel. Let me get rid of that. Sorry. Okay, so in this downward sloping channel here, you'd think we're still really in that. Obviously, it's tradable. If we do honor that channel, there's still some nice little trades in it, but definitely not out of the woods. Lot bigger picture. Alright, I'm going to throw a few charts up that I mentioned yesterday and I've held overnight. Most of the charts look pretty oversold in the first place. First one's Caltex. There's the Caltex bounce yesterday, as we can see. Obviously, I'd like a break of yesterday's high, which was 1257, but even preferably the day before, 1265, to really signify a swing in this. Volume's been okay in the last few days, so you'd suggest the high volume here would be a bit of a blow off bottom, so it's shaking all the loose hands out. Would like to see some decent volume on the way back up as well. Again, I suppose we can run some fibs on here and see what they can tell us. So we'll have a look at the previous range for a start, see if there's any significance in when we're bouncing. Around about 62, nothing too exact, but with any of these indicators I don't really think they're an exact science anyway. I suppose we could run them on this, assuming that's a bottom, and just get some ideas of potential targets. The 38 is back around this congestion here, and given that previous support could become resistance, I think I'd be looking at some of those areas to lock some in. Certainly if it gets up that high, I'd be pretty happy with that trade. Again, as I mentioned this morning, I'll aim to lock a little in early if it spikes and then give the rest a chance. But yeah, we'll be looking at some of these levels around here, around that one there and this one here for resistance if it can get up there. Okay, next one is we'll have a look at is Braken. I'm not on Braken, but so I'll have a quick look. For some reason my keyboard is not playing. That's better. Okay, so there's Braken. As I said, I'm not in this one yet. It came up on the scans this morning. Stochastics have turned. Got a bit of a bouncing off a rough channel here. There's a few false breaks, but basically a bit of a trend line there and there. Parallel channel. It looks like it's trading within at the moment. And given that channel, you'd think 840 is certainly a possibility. Was quite strong before the cap raising a couple of weeks ago. Looks to have bounced again off the bottom of that channel, and it's about midway through that channel now, but so certainly would have been much lower risk down here around the 790 level, but could be some upside in that one. So I'll be looking at that one today. BSL mentioned yesterday, okay, pretty much a bottom picking exercise here. Got a bit of a tail, a bit of volume yesterday, so possibly suggesting a turning point. I'd certainly not be overly aggressive with this one till at least breaks. Yesterday's high was 126, but you'd think a break of this one would be more significant, which is about 131.5, something like that. Okay, Dow's another one I'm not on, but I just sort of bring the chart up. It came up on the scans again last night, and again similar sort of thing. It's in this channel and looks to have bounced off this channel quite well. So there's the support line there. Getting a bit lazy and not drawing this in, but I'll draw this trend line in here. For some reason that's not drawing in, so I think the chart overlay is playing up a bit at the moment. But as you can see, there's a fairly obvious channel line through here, and it looks to be bouncing from there. So again, break of yesterday's high, which is 382, and I'd be pretty interested in that one. Now obviously a lot of stocks are going to gap up this morning, and I won't chase the gaps too far, but I'll be watching this morning for stocks that aren't gapping too much. Alright, what else have we got? Look at a few smaller ones. WDR I mentioned yesterday. It's been making higher lows now for the last 6 months or so. 1, 2, well, that's a lower 1, 2, 3 higher lows, and it's just broken through this consolidation here on a bit of volume, so that was encouraging for me. 35.5, 36 looks to be the next sort of little res to get through, and even right up to 37, but looks to have some potential upside there. Not a really fast mover, but looks to be tracking okay. Alright, let's throw one more in. What have I got here? Just having a look through some of the stocks that came up on the scans. I'll look at another small one, MT. Again, another one I'm not in, but came up on the charts just for a potential swing. It's been super strong, as you can see. It's backed off quite a bit from pretty much ignoring the market weakness. Dipped down to 56 or so, and you'd think a break of 60 would signify the swing, so that'll be on watch for that 60 break. It's all pretty simple stuff. This morning I'll lock in anything that gets a little bit ridiculously ahead of itself and continue to look for those oversold sort of stocks that haven't really bounced too much as yet. I think another one just what I remember is WTF, which is on the radar. Feels like a swing shaping here, a nice higher low from this one back here, and feels like it's trying to break this downtrend line now. So that's another one with some increased volume in the last couple of days. So that's stochastics turning up, so that's another one I'll be keeping an eye on today. Alright, I'll talk to you all in the Convor window, no doubt, and for those of you that are watching this on YouTube and are unfamiliar with our Convor chat, we've got best part of 125 members now, and a fairly active chat, especially in short-term trading. So if you're trading the ASX and you'd like to get involved, go to www.cfdtradersedge.com.au. register there, and we can get you involved in that chat as soon as we can. Thanks, guys.